Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is part 2 of my invasive plants series. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, Zone 7B, and mainly I'm going to be showing you the plants that are invasive in North Carolina, but I would imagine that many of these are going to be in your area as well. As I take off and do some traveling next year, I'll add some of the invasive from other areas that I know about as well. This is just the second video, and I will probably have like 15 varieties or something at the end of this one. The first video I did just right over here on my side yard, just in a neighboring property that's not maintained. I went 20 feet and showed you like 8 varieties. This time I went to a spot that Holly and I walk by every morning, and I think I've added like 7 more varieties to it, and I'm also showing some of the things from the first video, just kind of intermingled in that. From here I'll probably have to go and find them individually and add to a third invasive plant video. So thank you very much for watching this series. Thanks for participating. All the comments were great in the first video, and comment down below with your, the weed that most drives you the most crazy. Thanks for watching. So I've come to another spot that's similar to the one I showed the other day, where it's just a continuation of invasive plants around the bottom of 2 streets. So this is going to be a U that I walk around and show you some of these. This is actually Nandina Domestica right here. You can see the berries on it there. This one is one that's come up from seed in this area. It is definitely an invasive plant. A lot of people talk about these berries killing birds, but there's only one story of that ever happening in Georgia, and it's been retold 1,000 times. So I don't think if these things killed birds, there'd be dead birds all over the place. Or I just don't think birds eat them normally. Obviously those birds were under some sort of stress when they did that, but it is an invasive plant. Luckily, the newer varieties of Nandinas that are being released are sterile cultivars. They don't berry, they don't flower and berry like these do. So big improvements there in plant breeding. Plus, they've been bred for foliage color and all kinds of things now, but the original Nandina Domestica is a invasive plant, as you can see right there. This is English ivy, which I covered in the last one, and there's wisteria coming up in the middle of it, all over the place. There's a native dogwood being choked by the ivy right there, and a redbud having the same thing happen to it right there. Right down in here, it may be hard to tell, this is actually Rosa Sharon. A lot of people won't like that one being on the invasive list, but it absolutely is. Althea is definitely come up from seed, and this one's budded up to flower. These flower in the late summer. Beautiful, beautiful ornamental shrubs, but they do have a tendency to become invasive. That's the Rosa Sharon and the Nandina were the 2 that I wanted to show you here. I'm going to continue to walk around and show you some others. That Rosa Sharon was right there, and I couldn't get close to it. Here are some right here that are closer to the road that I can show you. See the flower buds on them there. But I know a lot of people aren't going to like that this one is an invasive plant, but you can see this is a whole colony of them just coming up on the edge of the road in this space right here. Here's some of the regular mondo grass here. And while I don't see it just out in the wild, when this is planted, it can really outcompete other things. This is a shady, wet space, and it's definitely able to compete and spread. You can see the wisteria coming up in it, the microstegium that I showed in the first one. I got mulberries coming up in the middle of it. So that's just some of the ones I showed in the first video, all competing and choking everything out in this space. I see a Chinese privet in here as well. So I came around that corner and I've made it to here, and it's all just repeats of the same things that I showed in the first video. And then right here, somebody's planted bamboo, and the bamboo it's in several places down in this area of the neighborhood, but it's growing all up in this wooded space right here. It will outcompete almost anything. And moving on, and of course, just and even it suffers from porcelain vine and wisteria and other things growing on it. This right here is a Japanese Ligustrum. I think there's a better example a little further down that I'll show you. I showed you the Chinese Ligustrum. I see the Japanese Ligustrums as well. The Chinese Ligustrums definitely, I think more invasive, but yeah, here's one coming up right here. It's just a very large specimen right there. It's got the berries on it, but that's a Japanese Ligustrum there. Larger, shinier leaves. It's also becoming invasive, but the Chinese Ligustrum is definitely, I definitely see more of it just out in the wild, and back behind that is more bamboo. And you can see English ivy growing up pretty much all of these trees. One native we always see blooming this time of year in the eastern U.S. is this jewelweed, and it's able to compete with almost anything. I see this throughout the eastern U.S. Lots of it in the mountains, and it's a beautiful orange flower on it. But it is a native that's absolutely able to compete with all of this other microstegium and everything else that's trying to choke it out. I've made my second turn in the U right here, and you can see this is just, a lot of this is just continuing to repeat. Chinese Ligustrum here, but here's one I haven't shown in the first two videos, is mimosa. It's there, and here's a larger example of it here. Absolutely beautiful ornamental tree. People love them, and but they are definitely it's definitely an invasive plant, and it grows quickly, and it can just compete with absolutely anything. So I'm nearing the end of the top of the U on the other side, and this is one I said I'd talk about in the last video. This is Elyagnus pungens here. There's actually 3 invasive Elyagnus varieties, but what I wanted to show you on this is this shrub has this ability to vine and try to get itself into the light to feed itself. This one can vine, it can grow as a shrub, or it can sucker and come up under the ground. But you see all these pieces on it right here that are reaching up, trying to grab a hold of something and actually vine. Let me move up just a hair here and show you another giant cluster of it right there. You can see, I mean, it's amazing to me. Really, I'm actually just super impressed with this plant's ability to be resistant to diseases and insects, and then be able to grow in so many different ways. One more shot of this Elyagnus before I show you the last invasive for this video. This is an Elyagnus eating a native magnolia right there, but it's actually quite beautiful. The kind of silver gray of that Elyagnus and the dark green, large shiny leaves on that magnolia. So this will be the last one I show you in this video. This is winter honeysuckle. It's a ornamental shrub that's frequently used. It gets pretty good size to it. It blooms super early. There's like almost nothing that blooms earlier. Like winter honeysuckle will bloom in late January sometimes in my area, but it also has a tendency to become invasive. And here's just a big giant group of it growing right out to the edge of the road. Of course, it's got its English ivy pest and microstegium and other things trying to eat it, and Elyagnus trying to eat it from the backside over there. But this is winter honeysuckle, and I've got a video for this one on my channel. It's frequently used as an ornamental, but it has also become invasive. So thank you very much for watching this series on invasive plants here in my area of Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm going to continue to show you more, but the first video and this video were just 2 places I could go and show you lots in one spot. I'm going to gather up some others individually and put together a third video. But again, this whole wooded space in this area has just been absolutely eaten by invasive plants. Thank you very much for watching this series.